Althaea and Meleager. Now in the shrine Althaea was offering thanksgiving for the victory of her son, when she beheld her brothers brought in dead. She beat her breast and filled the town with cries of grief, and changed her golden gown for black. But when she heard whose hand had dealt them death, away with tears, all sorrow fell away. Her heart's desire was vengeance from that day. There was a log which, when Althaea lay in childbirth with her son, the sisters three placed in her blazing hearth, and as they spun, with thumbs firm pressed, the thread of fate, they said, "To you, babe newly born, into this log we give the same life-span." This prophecy pronounced, the sisters vanished, and at once the mother snatched the burning brand away and quenched the flame. The brand, for years concealed in deepest secrecy, had been kept safe and kept the lad's life safe. And now at last she brought it out and called for kindling wood, and fired the kindling with a flame of hate. 4 times she steeled herself to throw the brand into the flames. 4 times she stayed her hand. Mother and sister fought, 2 claims of kin dividing her one heart. Often her cheeks paled at the fearful prospect of her crime. Often her eyes blazed as her anger flared. At times her face cried out for cruelty. At times a look of pity seemed to appear. And when her heart's wild heat had dried her tears, yet tears were found again. And as a ship that drives before the breeze against the tide will feel twin forces and obey them both, so with both feelings swaying back and forth, in turn Althaea lulled and roused her wrath. She began a better sister than a mother, determined to appease with blood the shades whose blood was hers, for love's sake crushing love. Yes, as the baleful fire gained strength, she cried, "Let that pyre burn, flesh of my flesh," and stood before the funeral altar with the brand, the fateful brand, held in her murderous hand, and cried, "Poor ill-starred soul! Ye Furies three, ye goddesses of vengeance, see and mark my right of doom. My vengeance is my guilt. Death must be paid with death. Crime piled on crime, bloodshed on bloodshed. Sorrow mountain high must overwhelm this house of wickedness. Is happy Aeneas to enjoy his son's triumph, while Theseus is twice bereft? Better that both should mourn. Only be sure, shades of my brothers, ghosts new made, to mark my service and accept my sacrifice, made at such cost, my womb's most bitter birth. Ay me, where am I swept so fast? Forgive, brothers, a mother's heart? My hands refuse. Death, true, he well deserves, but I to be his death's designer, that I cannot bear. So shall he go unscathed, and shall he live in triumph, swollen with success, and rule in royal Calydon, while you lie dead, a little meagre ash, cold shivering ghosts? I'll not endure it, no, that criminal shall perish and drag down his father's hopes, his kingdom and his fatherland in ruins. Where is my mother's heart, the love, the claims of parenthood, the pangs that 9 long months I bore? Would God the flame had burnt you then, when you were born, and I'd allowed it. My gift was your life, now you shall die by your desert. Receive your deed's reward, give back the life I gave you twice, first at your birth, next when I seized the brand. Or count me too a corpse beside my brother's sepulchres. I would, I want, and can't. What shall I do? Before my eyes I see my brother's wounds, the picture of that slaughter. Yet again a mother's loyal love rends my resolve. Oh, my heart breaks, your triumph is tragedy. Yet take your triumph, brothers. Only let me follow you in him whom I give you, your solace and my own. With trembling hand and eyes averted, full into the flame she threw the fatal brand. The log itself groaned, or it seemed to groan, as there it lay, licked by the unwilling flames and burned away. Unknowing, absent, Meleager burned with those flames, and felt a hidden fire scorching his vitals, and courageously suppressed his agony. Even so he grieved to fall with no bloodshed, no action fought, and thought Ancaeus lucky with his wounds. Groaning in pain, he called with his last breath his wife, his brothers, his devoted sisters, his aged father, perhaps his mother too. The fire, the pains increase, then sink again. Both die away together. Gradually in the light air his spirit slips away, as over the embers spreads a veil of grey. Low lies high Calydon, young men and old, nobles and commons mourned and made lament. Beside Euenus, mothers tore their hair and beat their breasts, and Meleager's father, on the ground prostrate, dirtied in the dust, his old white hair, his aged face, and cursed his life too long. For haunted by her deed, her dreadful deed, his mother had atoned by her own hand, a dagger in her heart. Not if a god gave me 100 mouths, 100 tongues, commanding genius, and all high Helicon, could I rehearse his sorrowing sisters' threnodies of woe. All decency forgotten, black and blue they beat their breasts, and while his corpse remained, that corpse they fondled hour by hour. They kissed their brother's bier, then ashes, and his ashes in their urn they held tight to their hearts, and threw themselves down on his tomb and clasped his name engraved. And on that name poured forth their flooding tears. At last Diana, sated with the ruin of Aeneas' house, raised up the sisters, all save Gorgy and the wife of Hercules, clothed them in plumage, and along their arms spread wings, and in their faces, once so fair, set beaks, and launched them, changed, into the air.